Hey everyone. So now we are going to talk about normal newborn behaviors and patterns, and as well as other things like their skin and their temperature. Because you're going to bring home this little bundle that you worked so hard to make, and sometimes they just do not act like how you would expect a normal person to behave. So let's go through some of the things that you might encounter. I'm going to start off with feeding and sleeping patterns. Babies need to feed about 8 to 12 times in a 24-hour period around the clock. Your baby should not be sleeping through the night routinely when they are brand new. They may give you some longer stretches on occasion, and that's awesome, take them, but if you break down that 8 to 12 feeds in 24 hours, you are often feeding your baby about every 2 to 3 hours. In the first 24 hours, your baby will be more on the sleepy side. Being born is hard work for them too. They were fed by their placenta until very recently, and they have brown fat stores to metabolize them to keep them going for the first 24 hours. So this is the time when you and your baby need to learn how to feed. Work on getting to know their feeding cues and getting comfortable with how you were going to feed them. Second night, you go from having this lovely sleepy baby to having a little pterodactyl that just wants to feed all the time. This is called cluster feeding. Day 2 babies are notoriously demanding. If you are breast or chest feeding, this is to help bring in your mature milk supply. There is a purpose. Your body will respond, so keep working at it. They will settle down when the flow catches up to where they want it to be. They will also do this during growth spurts to increase your flow speed to meet their needs. Take a look at the Feeding Babies video for more information, as well as the Safe Sleep for New Babies video. Also, another note about newborn sleep patterns: babies sleep a lot, like up to 16 hours a day. They also sleep in unpredictable lengths and patterns. They might sleep for 30 minutes or 6 hours. If your baby is awake again soon, see if they need their diaper changed or if they need to be fed again. Let them sleep in an area of the house that is dark or dimly lit and reduce noise stimulation. Give them some skin to skin time. If they are sleeping for a longer stretch, say 4 to 6 hours, that's fine as long as they're still getting that 8 to 12 feeds in 24 hours and they are gaining weight. When they are awake, they should be alert and interactive. If they are not really with it, like they're almost like they're too weak to cry and you think they are lethargic or ill, please page your midwife. Babies also cry. They do. They cry a lot in the first 3 months. It's normal. I know it feels bad when some lady in the grocery store tells you that your baby has colic, like you are doing something wrong, but they are wrong. You are not. You are doing okay. Run through your list of possibilities. Do they need to be fed? Do they need a diaper change? Are they gassy? Will skin to skin help? And if it doesn't work, run through that list and try again. As long as your baby doesn't have any symptoms of illness, like a fever, try not to worry. Check out the website called Period of Purple Crying for more information about the normal developmental period of increased crying between 2 weeks and 3 months of age. Babies also make a lot of weird noises, which is also fine. They sound like little dinosaurs. What I don't want to see is a baby that is consistently grunting with every single breath for 10 minutes. It sounds like this. It's like, er, er, er. And if that is happening, please page your midwife. That's just a sign that they are working a little bit harder to breathe than we would like them to be. As far as weight gain goes, babies will initially lose weight after birth. They have their peak weight loss around day 3 to 4. Losing up to 7% of birth weight is normal and healthy. Between 7% and 10%, I often take a close look at how feeding is going, the number of diapers your baby is having, and I might make some temporary recommendations. Above 10% weight loss, and I am often recommending supplementation and discussing ways to help you increase your milk flow. After day 3 or 4, I expect your baby to gain about an ounce to a half an ounce a day. You can't overfeed a breast or chest fed baby. Just go with what they ask of you. You can overfeed a baby with formula. So if you are using formula to feed your baby, your midwife will help you calculate how much they need based on your feeding plan and their weight and age. Take a look at the Feeding Babies video for more information. Next up, normal newborn skin, because their skin does some crazy things. In the first 24 to 48 hours, your baby often has something called acrocyanosis. This is when the hands and feet are blue, pale, or cold, and it's normal. Babies keep their circulation centrally near their important organs at first. Your baby should not be blue or pale in their chest, lips, or face. If this ever happens, please page your midwife. Babies also have very sensitive skin. It's new. It's never been exposed to the outside world or detergents or clothing before. They often develop newborn rash in the first week or so. It's harmless and it goes away on its own. It looks like a diffuse red bumpy rash. You don't need to do anything to it. Once the newborn rash clears up, they may get acne. This can take a couple weeks or months to clear. You may also notice some little blocked pores on their face. It can look like little white dots kind of across their cheeks or their nose. This is milia, and they're just blocked pores. It'll clear. Babies can sometimes get a heat rash. You will notice this as a rash in the creases of your baby's skin, like around their neck or their leg folds. This one you do need to do something for. First, turn off the humidifier. If your house is overheating and you are uncomfortable, your baby is probably overheating and uncomfortable as well. Cool off your house or take them somewhere that's a bit cooler. Also, allow for a bit of air dry time. When you pile on creams to a heat rash, you actually trap the heat in and you can contribute to the irritation. If you want to put something on it, put a little bit of expressed breast or chest milk. It has a lot of really great healing properties. Alternatively, sometimes baby skin can be quite dry and peely. Just a gentle exfoliation with a washcloth when you bathe them, and then put on their skin any oil that you would eat. Baby skin is very porous and absorbent, so olive oil or coconut oil are great options, for example. Like, you wouldn't eat Vaseline, so I don't like to put it on baby skin if you can avoid it. If your baby gets cradle cap, which is a scaly buildup of skin cells, you can gently exfoliate their head with a soft brush or cloth when shampooing their hair, and then rub in a gentle baby oil. Lastly, we're going to talk about diaper rash. This happens when your baby's bum has a reaction to the wetness in their diaper. First of all, you don't need to use cleansing wipes to clean your baby every time. They're great for you when you're out and about if you don't want to carry laundry, although if you look online, there are some really great tricks for carrying reusable things with you. But when you're home, just use a soft, wet cloth. It'll be much less irritating for your baby's skin. If they develop a diaper rash, try to give them a few minutes of air dry time after you change them. Just make sure you have them on something absorbent if they decide to give you an encore performance. And then put on a diaper barrier cream, like a zinc cream, for example, to protect them from more irritation. It should go away. Speaking of diapers, your midwife will ask you to keep track of your baby's diapers until they have reached their birth weight. I want a baby to have at least 1 pee and 1 poo in the first 24 hours so that we know everything is patent and working. After that, I want 2 pees on day 2, 3 pees on day 3, etc. until they are having 6 or more heavy pees by the end of the week. Sometimes in the first couple days, you may see some red in the diaper and get freaked out because you think it's blood. Commonly, and especially with baby boys, they can pass something called uric acid crystals, which is a byproduct of the kidneys. It looks like rust in the diaper. As long as they are well hydrated and having a normal amount of pees, it's fine. If you are worried that it's blood, blow dry the diaper. Uric acid crystals will not change color. Blood will get darker as it dries. Baby girls may have a little period, and that is blood, but it is normal. The number of pees that a baby has is a much better indication of how hydrated they are than how much they stool. Stooling doesn't really follow as much of a pattern, but it can tell us a lot about how your baby is doing. Babies start out with meconium, which is tarry and dark green. When you change your baby's diaper, put oil on their bum. It'll make it much easier to clean off later because it is quite sticky when it dries. Once they start making stools from their digested food, around day 3 or so, especially if you are breast or chest feeding, it often changes when your mature milk comes in, their stool will start to turn yellowy. It can also be quite watery. This doesn't mean that they have diarrhea, it means they are on an all-liquid diet. Sometimes baby stool can be a little bit all the time, and others save it up for a large punami event every couple of days. If your baby isn't stooling, as long as they are passing gas, it's okay. If you are worried about your baby not stooling over a couple of days, you can place a warm cloth on the outside of their anus, and sometimes that can just remind them to go. If you think that they have a distended or swollen abdomen, please let your midwife know right away. Changes in your baby stools can sometimes clue your midwife in to what's going on with them. So if your baby has like mucousy stools, or if they change in color and you're concerned, or if they're having other symptoms like they are extra fussy and not eating well and you think they are ill, let your midwife know. People are often quite concerned about their baby's temperature. A normal temperature is between 36.5 and 37.5 degrees Celsius. I don't need you taking your baby's temperature every day. What I do need is for you to have access to a working thermometer if you have concerns. Skin to skin is the best place to regulate your baby's temperature. If they are not skin to skin with you and you want to assess their temperature, feel their chest or the back of their neck. If they feel warm, take off a layer of clothing. If they feel cold, add a layer. If you are still concerned, take their temperature after 15 minutes. If it is outside of that 36.5 to 37.5, page your midwife. In general, the rule of thumb for baby comfort is that they should be in one layer more of clothing than what you are comfortable in. But, use common sense. If it's 30 degrees and you are sweating in your underwear, that does not mean that they need to be in a full onesie. They would probably also be happy naked. And last one on my list, care of your baby's umbilical cord. So your baby's umbilical cord will dry and shrivel up in the first couple of days. Then it will sit there like a gnarly scab until it comes off. It will smell bad. And when it comes off, after a few days to 2 weeks, it'll look like when a big scab comes off too early. The skin may be red and raw. There may be a couple of drops of blood or some pus as the skin heals, and that is normal. You don't need to do anything to the cord, just keep it dry and out of the diaper. If your baby's abdomen becomes red and swollen around the belly button or starts spewing blood or bile, then of course, please page your midwife. So that's what to expect for a lot of normal newborn behavior. Of course, everybody's clinical situation is a little bit different, and if your midwife specifies that you do need to take your baby's temperature or they do want you feeding specifically every 2 to 3 hours based on what's going on with you and your baby, then go for that. But I hope that you found this video informative.